One of the biggest things that I noticed when I started teaching fasting was when fasting first went out to the world, everybody got so excited. They got so many results. And then they started fasting all the time. And this is where Fast Like a Girl even came from. I was like, no. The goal wasn't to go from eating all the time to fasting all the time. The goal was to create a rhythm that works with your body. And that's where the principles came from. What's intriguing to me about what you're bringing forward to the world is the idea that there's a rhythm that's happening for us when we go into perimenopause and menopause. And I think this is like that idea is so important to bring forward because and I'm so curious your opinion on this, because there's a part of me that's like, are we meant to just go from hormones to no hormones? And now we're trying to add hormones back in exogenously. Like, what is the rhythm that we're missing right now in that conversation that Ayurveda can bring forward?
See, Mindy, thank you for doing the work in terms of the fasting like a girl, that we're not meant to do either, yo-yo between these two extremes. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. And can I start by addressing what you said, right when we started this conversation? And you said, one of the things you said is that we're looking at menopause like it's disease.
Right.
And there's another half that's looking at menopause like it's aging. The truth is menopause is neither disease nor aging. I mean, can you imagine if women started thinking that we're aging in our 40s? We're spending half of our lives thinking that we're aging.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's neither. It's just it's a neuroendocrine transition. And unfortunately, we understand menarche, right? Like menarche comes with its own challenges. And menarche, or even when young boys start moving into adolescence, there's a change of voice, and there's sudden acne, and there's this discomfort, getting comfortable in this new skin that they've developed. So yes, every transition, every neuroendocrine transition that a human being will experience will be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And some will be more challenging than others. But I'm going to put the Ayurvedic understanding and lens the way I see it on this. And Ayurveda looks at your life in seasons as well, right?
Okay.
Like your childhood is the spring of life. Oh. And in the spring of life, you're building. It's a moist phase. And which means your body is prepared. It's geared up to continuously build cytoplasm, new cells, and building of cells, excessive cytoplasm, fluids, juices, all of that. Then you come to the summer of your life. Now, this is really what will explain menopause is your menarche when you start, right? After that building phase, when a young girl is 13, 14, hot hormones start to set in. The body heats up. Mm-hmm. We know the mind of the teenager, we suddenly have a reproductive function. The body is able to reproduce. Without heat, there's no transformation that happens. So there's sudden heat and the hormones bring heat. The way I like to define it is think of an oil lamp filled with oil. So the flame is beautiful and it's sharp and the oil is really, really full as well. Now, throughout the period of our youth, we kind of use up that fuel. Mm. And then when you arrive at this menopause and perimenopause, it is the depletion of that fuel. Okay. And you come to that point, right? So just think about it, like it's drying. It's a process of drying. Our entire period of youth is a process of drying. And if I tell people this, if you've ever worked with an oil lamp, when you notice that the oil lamp is at its tail end, the flame will become very volatile. And the oil starts to deplete and there's smoke. And that is exactly the experience that people have at menopause and perimenopause. There's a dryness, there's an increased heat, there's a volatility, and then there is all, smoke, fire. And that is really, it's like using up your fuel. Okay. And how are you drying? So there are ways that you can do to have this as a gentler journey, because the truth is menopause is so difficult, Mindy, because we're all drying sooner. We are using our essential resources. We're all burning out quicker. And that's why we're burning out quicker, burning out harsher without replenishing our fuels in many, many different ways. And we can talk about what Ayurveda talks about, how you replenish your fuels. But after that point, after you go to the other side of menopause, right, 3 years after that, something wonderful happens in the body that nobody talks about, right? There is this U-bend research that women in their 50s, right, like your amygdala changes the way it responds. So it responds very positively to positive experiences, but it doesn't respond strongly to negative experiences. The emotional control center changes the way it works in your brain. So women actually become happier in their 60s and 70s. They start to take things much more lightly. And it's the first time in your life you're not dating, you're not mating in the same way. At least you're not dating and mating in the same way. You're not in your nesting phase. Most people are out of their nesting phase. Today things are a little bit different, but historically we're out of a nesting phase. And we have this tremendous opportunity, where women can, for the first time, like truly be free to exist and find themselves and make it's a second teenage. Honestly, that time 3 years after menopause is a second teenage. And of course, then on the physical level and the lifestyle level and nutrition level, there's a lot that can be done that can continue to support you, because the rest of the journey is drying. It's autumn and winter.
Yep.
But you can have a beautiful autumn. I mean, once if you're a skier, you're sailing through that winter, for example, right? So if you know how to care for yourself through these phases, and most importantly, even through your perimenopausal years, and even like I have 2 young daughters, Mindy, 17 and 13, and I'm teaching them how to care for them at this stage.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I was taught. Because if you do that and you don't dry out quickly, like I always say, drying is dying, so you preserve your fuels. And then when you're at that stage, it's not quite as harsh.
I love that explanation. And especially the 3 years out, that was literally, I just got done researching the whole neurochemical system for Age Like a Girl. And very similar that I saw is that you have a whole system change. Oxytocin system changes, the autonomic nervous system changes, and it changes for the better, which is a part of the menopause conversation we are not having. It's like we went from a place where we didn't talk about it, everybody suffered in silence, to talking about it all the time, and everybody's confused. But what is not being talked about enough is what an incredible process this could be, and where you're going in those postmenopausal years is someplace that you have never really experienced as a woman, and a place that you are sitting in your most powerful part of your life. So I loved the way you explained that.